A bit of review. We're on the Midah HaHei in the Tomer Devorah Lo Hechzik Ladapo. Look inside today. And what we learned on Sunday was the first half of this, which was the theological part of the Midah HaHei, which is the Hanhaga V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, "Zu midah acher shafilu adam machzik b'chet ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu machzik af." The principle is that we do find in Tanakh that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gets angry, but he doesn't stay angry. Even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu does say, it says, "Vayichar af." It's a pella. Vayichar af Hashem. Hashem gets angry. So that's a chiddush unto itself, but sometimes an anger could be an everlasting anger, especially when we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where everything's eternal. It doesn't live in a temporary world. So to lose your temper for a moment is something we attribute to humans, not to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the teretz says the Tomer Devorah, that Vayichar af Hashem, when we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu getting angry, it's a different type of anger. And hence we have to examine our own anger if we do get angry. It's a different type of anger. It's not an anger that's coming from hate or coming from, it's an anger which is there to effect a change in the person and the world. It's not an anger because I'm upset. It's an anger because this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Hanhaga in the Bria and how it can possibly help you. It doesn't mean that it's a fake anger. I just want to make this clear, I think, on a deep level. It doesn't mean it's a fake anger. You have to worry about Hashem's anger. There was a Chorban Bais Hamikdash, Bais Rishon, Bais Shein. You have to worry about Hashem's anger, not fake. But what it is, what it means is it's an anger which is coming from a Toivas Yisrael. It's not an anger which is coming, which like, I'm sick of this, I'm just not going to deal with it anymore. So that's a different type of, it's a different sug of anger. Right? You with me on this? So we spoke about this for a while. I was thinking as a bashal, I don't know if you agree with me or this or not, but when I think about like Lo Yaleinu, Rachmana Litzlan, all the scandals that are going on in Klal Yisrael. So I was thinking to myself that like all of these people are like abusers and perpetrators and it's very, I have a little bit of experience with it, not personally, but personally with other people. I don't think it's about taiva, I think it's about gaiva. That's what I think. I don't think it's about like taiva, like a person is, you want to take a look at pornography, go to the internet, that's taiva. But gaiva is this need to lord over another person and control another person, and to think that you're insurmountable and uncatchable, and nobody will ever. That's gaiva. So like you can see how like one wrongdoing or one type of hanhaga could come from a number of different mekomos. Kas also, like kas can come from gaiva. I think it usually comes from gaiva, but can also come from a sense of what's right and wrong, and a sense of not being tolerant to something which is evil, and no, this is not what we're going to do in my family, in my house, in my community, in the world at large. There's also a certain cast, but that's called roiges kadisha. That's a pinchas roiges. It's a roiges which is not coming from any gaiva at all. There's a certain kanois, but I'm talking about a very holy kanois of a sense of right or wrong, and I'm going to speak out about that. So Avram Avinu had that type of erogas. You have to be barogas a little bit to break all your father's idols. That's weird, right? He was the ultimate and original iconoclast. That's what it means. Iconoclast. And he takes icons and he breaks them apart. But there's a certain, I don't know the other word, there's a certain kas which is there. And that kas is made of Avram Avinu. So it really is not about the kas, it's about where it's coming from. It's about, is it coming from gaiva, is it coming from taiva, or is it coming from a sense of right or wrong, or even better, coming from what's going to work, an effective way of dealing, which is a slippery slope, because that's also gaiva. If I'm deciding what's going to work for you, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's fine. Maybe for a 2-year-old child, don't run into the street, I'm very angry at you. But us trading other people is also like a little bit, what's the word, a little bit of gaiva there.
When the Torah refers to Hashem's anger, like for instance, like Mosey's Parsha, right? It's not coming from a place of gaiva or taiva, the Rav said. Then the Rav brought up Pinchas' anger, which is not our anger either, coming from a place
also
of
not
gaiva.
Coming from gaiva or taiva.
Right, so is that the same type of anger in the sense that did Pinchas achieve a type of anger that only Hashem could achieve?
Right.
Or is that a third type?
You're saying a good thing. Like everybody asks this. Everybody. Let me just rephrase that. Like everybody asks that if we're supposed to be emulating Hashem, and that's what the whole sefer is about. So Hashem has the Kabbalah. Kel the Kabbalah is Hashem. Why should we take out the Kabbalah? Hashem vayicharaf Hashem. We should be getting angry all the time. It's like Hashem is getting angry. The answer is that we can be. I mean, l'chora. There could be a chiyuv to be rachum the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu is rachum, but it's very difficult to be angry the way Hashem is angry, because to be rachum without negius, without my personal, it's difficult, but it's doable. To be angry with nothing in it for myself is an almost impossible task. We could try, but to say that there's a chiyuv. So Pinchas must have achieved it. Kanoi es kinasi b'seich Yisrael. He was angry for my anger. He was jealous for my jealousy. But again, this is a very delicate point, and it's going to become more delicate when it comes to doing it. Actually, but what I'm saying is that it's really not about losing your temper, not losing your temper. It's really about examining what pushes our buttons and figuring out what pushes our buttons, what is it that really gets you angry. We can argue a whole bunch of others. That was right. There's a sense of right and wrong, but it's a difficult mindset a little bit.
Just to share one experience on this to help us understand it. We're talking here that really it's an anger that's coming from a place of caring. Almost a chesed. I want to help this person straighten themselves out, and this meat of anger is going to somehow shake it up. Right, shake it up. So I remember when our kids were young, the Rosh Yeshiva by their cheder, he used to tell all the Rebbe's, please send the boys to my office frequently. Okay? But 9 times out of 10, it's to give them a nachas for something great they did. So the one time that they do something out of line, they realize that the whole thing
That's
is
why
really
frequently. Context. There's a lot of simonim. There's a lot of simonim to bad anger. One of them is uncontrollable anger. If you're totally out of control, you start breathing crazy and hyperventilating and all. There's something that's not. I don't think Pinchas was hyperventilating, but I don't think he was either. Just like a hardened angry guy. I think he was reacting to. There's this, one has to have the same as Avraham Avinu, same as Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayachas HaMitzri.
Moshe blew it with the rock.
With the rock, he blew it. Interesting. And with the Mitzri, he was okay. So he didn't get it for killing a Mitzri. He got it for hitting a rock. An interesting thing. Why?
Right.
Why? Because hitting the Mitzri was a sense of social justice. Hit the rock for him. So that's how careful. That's how darkistic it is. He hits a human. Seder. He hit a human. Why? Because this is wrong. It's just wrong. What's going on? What are you hitting a rock? That's already reacting, and that's how it's frightening. It's frightening to me. It's frightening. That's why I keep on talking about it. It's a therapy for my own fear. It's frightening how careful we have to be, and it's also frightening to me how much all of us, and I certainly include myself, fool ourselves in this regard, and we justify anger. It's very difficult to be angry like God is angry, and that it's totally recipient-centered. It's totally out of like you say, out of chesed, not out of gevura. It's a different. Let me show you something here.
Maybe anger is the wrong word.
Charonaf.
human emotion doesn't seem to have a parallel with Hashem, with Kas, the way we're describing Hashem.
It doesn't say anywhere, which is a point that I brought out on Sunday, it doesn't say anywhere in the whole Torah that Hashem was Bekas. Vayichas Hashem. It doesn't say.
Uses a different word for it.
Charodaf, Vayicharaf Hashem. So which I'm saying means what you're saying is, I believe, 100% true. We're not talking about Kas could be Zasir even for Hashem. It could be Kas is not something. It doesn't say by Pinchas that he was Bekas either. So Kas to me is a Kas. Not sure what the etymology of it is, but the understanding of it is, I think, that it's a tolda of Gaiva. Bottom line is, like, you have affronted me. It's not social order or social justice. It's like Magia li kacha, and you didn't do it. It's a wonderful thing, like a good exercise. Like if you're driving in the street. So where else are you going to drive? Driving in traffic, and somebody cuts you off. So like. You bang on the horn. Like when I first came to this country, like if somebody barked, like you get I think a $250 fine in New York for honking on the horn. So probably something they should institute here also. But and just like everybody's honking, go faster, go slower, turn, go with the right leg, go the left leg. Everybody's honking. Like it just reminded me of like like when you have a little kid, you put them in the other seat with one of they have these things like these little toy cars, and the whole time he's dun, dun, dun. Like that's what driving means to him, like just pushing on the horn. But like there's a certain like why do we honk? Like an interesting thing. It's just if it's a way of averting danger, okay, that's what the horn is for. Is it a way of doing that, or is it a way of screaming? Like I have a louder horn than you have. I'm a truck. Like I can really intimidate you. So is it a form? It's just like an interesting thing to think about. So it's a good exercise. Like every time you're about to hit the horn, like to think for a second about why I'm hitting the horn. And by the time you think about it, like for all of our, like everything's over already and it's okay. But it just is this idea of honking. It's to teach somebody else, a lesson, not driving correctly, if a rishayon shocha, like, what's the, or because you insulted me, like you took my schus, I had a kadima and you took it, but like it's a good example of where I think like people lose it on a regular basis. It's better than on the kids, I think, but it's still like it's a yeah.
Can we learn from the Moshe Rabbeinu incident that? Like you could say, like I got angry, but nobody got hurt, right? So let's say you're in your car and you beep your horn, so the other guy hears it. Let's say he doesn't hear it, right? Let's say he's completely oblivious. Mm-hmm. He doesn't hear it. Now, Moshe hit the rock. He didn't hurt anybody. So in other words, is it aser even alone to reach that level of kas?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the effect of it. It has to do with what I am. It's exactly the point. In other words, you hit a mitzri, like that's a terrible thing. You killed a mitzri, that's even a worse thing. But it wasn't kas. The issue of Moshe Rabbeinu hitting the rock seemed to be an act of frustration, an act of what's he hitting a rock with? What are you hitting the rock for? What are you doing it for? There's some kind of frustration, some kind of a second of loss of control. I mean, I hope we're not judged on that level, like if you bang on the table, like okay, you're out. You can't live in Eretz Yisrael anymore. But Moshe Rabbeinu was judged on that. I don't know the answer to this. I just want to point out that when we're talking about the sneh on Sunday, we're talking about mazeh biyadecha. The mazeh, Hashem said, "What do you have in your hand?" So mazeh is gematria ben 52, and before you get angry at the Jewish people. Before you get upset and call them that they're not going to listen to me, and think about them as your children, as what we said. If you look at this whole conversation here, it goes on and on for psukim about this long conversation, and Hashem's saying to him, "I want you." Bottom line is, he says, "I want you to go and save the Jewish people." And Moshe Rabbeinu is coming up with every argument not to do it. They're not going to listen to me. Aaron is going to get upset. who am I?
Can't talk
I'm not a
properly.
speaker, I'm not a talker, and on and on. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like patiently answering every one of the siruvim of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's almost the whole Parak Gimel of Shmos, and then Parak Daled, Vayan Moshe Vayomer Vehein lo yaminu li v'layishmu v'koili. After everything, after Ki lo direi lecha, Yigabri lo direi lecha Hashem, they're going to say Hashem never really appeared to you. Vayomer elav Hashem baziv yodecha. It's a ksiv and a kri. The kri is mazeh. The ksiv, what it says is mazeh menzud zayin hey, which is 52. Vayomer mateh. It turns into a nachash. Everything's great. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. Sorry. After all of this, the demonstrations, and he says, I can't talk. Vayomer Hashem elav misam pel adam, or miyasum ilaim, or cheresh, who gives a person the koach hadibur. Stop saying you can't talk. Patiently, leadership training. Very, very patient with Moshe Rabbeinu. You can do it. I mean, after this was a huge task. I mean, think about it. This was a double problem. First of all, he's dealing with superpower Mitzrayim. Shmuley, go in front of the President of the United States and change his thinking about the Middle East policy. Okay? How am I going to get it to him? What am I going to do? I'm not such a speaker. That's one problem. Next problem is, and then go tell Klal Yisrael, don't worry about it, I'm taking care of it. Even a bigger challenge. You can deal with the government. We can deal with the Klal Yisrael. Yes, okay, they're going to accept me as a gadol. So Moshe Rabbeinu had a big, this was a double thing, and Hashem is patiently leading him along. And then Moshe Rabbeinu says at the end of the whole conversation, Vayomer bi Adonai, please Hashem, shlach na biyad tishlach, which seems like this is his last argument. Shlach no biyad tishlach. What does it mean? What's Pashup Pshat? Simple Pshat. What?
Send with someone else.
Send somebody else. At the end of the whole thing, why me? I really don't want to do it. At the end, I just really don't want to do it. Shlach no biyad tishlach. So Rashi says, Shlach no biyad tishlach biyad mishat terogel l'shloyach. You have your men who are on. And Aaron, my brother, good man, speaker, well dressed. He has the faith of the people. He's with the people. He's there at Mitzrayim. Devorah Rashi says, second shot. Biyad shatir, to send with whoever you want. She'ain soifi lahachnisam la'aretz liyos goyam la'asid. It's an amazing Rashi. Rashi saying that Moshe Rabbeinu saw at this moment. The Shemayim was open to him. So at this moment, he had a Ruach HaKodesh that I'm not going to go to Eretz Yisrael. So send somebody, send Mashiach. Like if I'm not going to finish the job and I'm not going to bring them into Eretz Yisrael, send with somebody else who's better. The Targum Yonasan ben Uziel. Amar bevo barachmin min kadamach Hashem. I beg you, Hashem, shlach kedain shlichusach, send with one of your big-time shluchim biyad Pinchas. The Chavei l'mishtelcha b'soif yamayu. Why? Because Pinchas, it says here in the Pirish Targum, zu Eliyahu. So, get to the point. You don't want me. If you want to be, this is a Ruach HaKodesh that he saw. And even after this, he's crying and V'eschadar el Hashem. He wants to go to Eretz Yisrael. But at this moment, to the snap, way at the beginning of the story, it was clear to him that he's not going to be the Mashiach. He's not going to take them to Eretz Yisrael. He's not going to build the base of it. Just send somebody else. This was Moshe Rabbeinu's final argument in the court of Hashem. Right? Says the Torah, Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe. Hashem got angry at Moshe. Vayichar af Hashem b'Moshe. Like the whole time he didn't get angry. They're not going to listen to me. I can't talk. Who am I to go to Paro? Everything. Hashem, patient. Now, shlach no biyad tishlach. Vayichar af Hashem. This is the first time Hashem got angry. So why did he get angry here? He didn't get angry before. What was the nekuda?
Said someone else.
Huh?
Because he said someone else.
Yeah. So why did that make?
because
Maybe
you don't want to listen
The whole
to
time he's saying somebody else,
the Pshat is that he's finally addressed all of Moshe Rabbeinu's objections. And Moshe Rabbeinu still doesn't want to take the job onto himself. That's already.
So what's the? Just finish the Nakuda. Meaning, as long as your objections are logical, as long as your objections are legitimate concerns. How am I going to talk if I can't talk? How are they going to believe me if they don't know me? I need to do some kind of a miracle. I need to take the stick and make it into a snake and back. Okay, those are legitimate, strategic concerns that a person is not only entitled to have, but they're intelligent to have these concerns. Like, are the right man? Your mission, if you should decide to accept it, is so. Okay, I have my questions. I don't have to be like. But after, as Moshe says, like after all of those concerns are met, all those concerns are discussed and solved. So now, what was this? This was just
You're giving up on me. You're giving up on me.
Right, or it's like it's ego, or
Is it a bitachon problem?
it's all or nothing. As all or nothing. If I'm not going to bring the final geula, that's what Rashi says. If I'm not going to bring the Klal Yisrael, Teretz Yisrael, then get somebody else. Like, is this correct? Is this correct? In other words, like if somebody asks you, if I ask you, can you take care of this? Oh, if I'm not going to do the whole thing, and you're not going to honor me at the dinner for it, then I don't want to do just a little piece. I want to have the real. I want to do the whole thing. But who talks like this? Vayichar af Hashem.
That's a good time.
Why?
That's Hashem's. That's Malchus, right? That's what we.
Like that.
Yeah, but we said before.
So
Hashem's not
apparently,
getting frustrated.
well, it's Moshe Rabbeinu. So I mean, I'm sure it was a good time, but what apparently was like hitting the rock. That's my chiddush here. It was the earlier concerns were strategic concerns. This concern is a sort of an emotional concern. Now, it's not that we're not supposed to be emotional, but we're not supposed to let our emotions make us stop us from doing a good thing. That's the emotional. And it wasn't even fear. He was already afraid before. That's even still acceptable. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But when it's a drop of ego, as you say, or I mean, I'm afraid to talk, so I'm not going to talk. But all of a sudden over here, Vayichar af Hashem v'Moshe. So there was a midah keneged midah. A midah keneged midah. Meaning, okay, you're taking that derech. It's all or nothing. Get Eliyahu and Navi. You want Mashiach? Get Eliyahu and Navi. Get Pinchas. There's better people. You want a Mashiach? Get a Mashiach. It was almost like a taunting of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like you're not letting me do the whole thing. You don't hold to me. You're not letting me bring him into Eretz Yisrael. So there's Ruach HaKodesh. I'm guessing now. He probably didn't even know why he's not going to go into Eretz Yisrael. He didn't know about the rock story. He didn't know the whole story of how it's going to unfold. He just saw at the end, when the Shabbat was open to him and he was able to see everything, he saw that he's not the one with the stick who's splitting the Yarden. He saw, it is Roa Asitas. He probably didn't even know why, so I'm not the man. So there you have a Yichar Av Hashem.
So could you argue that if he didn't take it that far, like the Rav connected to the rock, he didn't take it that far, the rock incident may never have happened? In other words, like if a person commits a crime, right? Like, for instance, the guy that was with the ship in Italy when he rowed too close to the shoreline, right? That wasn't a one-time incident. He had done that tens of times.
Sharamud.
And he got careless. So in other words, there was just a culmination of many acts of God, right? So what I'm saying is that if he didn't take it that extra step, like then maybe the rock wouldn't have happened. Maybe the rock was... He set himself up.
I don't know. That's a lot of...
He set himself up.
I don't know. I hear. I mean, it probably... I don't know. How do I know? But I just know that this is the time that Hashem got angry. This is one of the times that Hashem got angry, and it's out of context for him to get angry because he wasn't getting angry the whole time. Comes Rashi, in other words, it makes it more complicated. It says Rashi, Rabbi Shua ben Korcha Omer, Kol Charoin Af Shebetayra, Nemar Boy Roshan. V'zeh Loi Nemar Boy Roshan. What does it mean? Whenever Hashem gets angry, it has an effect. Roshan is an effect. Over here, Hashem got angry, and blew it away.
He's assuming in the midah. He's assuming in.
Mamash.
I can also act outside of my midas.
Right. Amazing, right? Meaning we don't find anywhere that Moshe Rabbeinu was in any way disadvantaged. Exactly the opposite of what you're saying. So, what do you think about it? We don't say that this is what caused him not to go into Eretz Yisrael. This is what caused him to hit the rock. This is what caused him to something. We don't find that he was disadvantaged in any way at all. We just found Hashem got angry. And then Hashem continued to talk. And then after I got angry, don't worry, I'll send Aaron with you. He's a big talker. And not only that, I'll be happy to see you. He'll greet you with tufim, he'll greet you not to worry about anything. So Hashem, like the anger was like a second kilu. And Rashi says, didn't make a roshim at all. Meaning, this was, I believe, again, permit me, that I believe that this was an emotion, like keviyachol, like an out of midah response to an out of midah response. Shlach nabiyat tishlach was a frustration, vayichar Hashem was a frustration. Okay, we both got that out of the way. Now let's go further. So you see that there's a limud here. By the way, Rashi brings, I think, but if not Rashi, then bring the Gemara brings in Zvachim, that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai argued with this. And he said no. Yeah, Rashi brings. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says no, that Moshe Rabbeinu was meant to be a Kohen, and because of this he became a Levi. Which needs an iyun unto itself, like why is that? But
He's going to be the Kohen Gadol.
if he would have been a Kohen, obviously he would have been the Kohen Gadol. So Haloy Arid Achicha Hu Rabbi Yaacov was a sort of an odesh of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says it Lo Yasa Bar Yochai. It didn't make a roshim at all. So it's reminiscent. Let me just say this. It's reminiscent to the Gemara in Brachas Daf Zayin. The Gemara in Brachas Daf Zayin says that talks about Bilam. It talks about Moshe Rabbeinu. That Hashem said, let me give you some instructions here. Hashem said to Moshe, the Gemara says, let me give you some instructions here. Don't talk to me when I'm angry. Hamtein ad sheyavar es hazah. The Gemara says that Bilam knew how to figure out when Hashem was angry, and that's when he would curse Klal Yisrael. But it's hamten li ad sheyavar hazah. Just wait a second, literally a second, and the rega ki rega ba'apoy chaim b'ritzoynai. Think about the pasuk. Ki rega ba'apoy. 1 second he's angry, but Chaim B'Tzoyin. The Ratzon is a Ratzon of Chaim. So the limud here, says the Tomer Devorah, is that this anger is coming from this anger is coming from a completely different place than the anger that we're familiar with. It's a charonaf. A charonaf is a charonaf, and a charonaf we're comfortable with. I just want to one more thing before we just finish the words of Tomer Devorah. I mentioned the Mr. Emilio Dessler on Sunday, and I just brought it, so I want to read it to you. And we'll finish it, we'll be on to the next meeting. Rav Dessler says, Matzasi Kasuv B'Sfarim HaKadoshim. I found in the Svarim HaKadoshim, he doesn't say where he saw it, Ki atam asher bikesh Moshe Rabbeinu olav hashalom hareini na es kvoid decha tekav acher slichas maisa egel. An interesting thing, like Klal Yisrael and Hashem have a fight. Argument about the ego. Moshe Rabbeinu is the great advocate for Klal Yisrael, and he's saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, forgive them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, after 40 days, Salachti kidvarecha. A lot of slichas went into this. Salachti kidvarecha. You talked me into it, of Seleach. It should be the time to leave well enough alone, and sometimes like you argue. You see people do this, and when you see this with your kids, when you say yes, they're out of there quick before you change your mind. Just go on. Okay, like
Consolidate your gains.
I notice when people come and ask for a heter and something. I know, like I know stones. I'm not like it's like it's just like an interesting thing. Like if you give a psak that people don't want to hear, but if you give as soon as you say okay, Jew, where'd you go? Like it's like they were just waiting for that last. So so Moshe Rabbeinu should have like salachti kidvarecha. Okay, I forgive them. Go down the mountain, talk to the people. That's it. So, what does he do? No, he stays there, and he pursues this. You forgive me. Salafti kidvarecha. Hareini nos kvaitcha. Now let me see what you look like. I want to see what you look like. The most unreasonable request in human history. I want to see what you look like. What do I look like? Like you're Adam L'chai. You can't know what I look like. So says Rav Dessler, Hatam asher bikesh Moshe Rabbeinu hareini nos kvaitcha tekef acher slichas ma'isa egel ki besur charoin ha'af, because the moment that the charon af is gone, oz misgalgulim rachamim merubim yoiser mi'ilu lo'haya charoin af klal. Isn't that wild? That the moment the charon af is gone, it's an eis ratzon. It's not blank, it's not parv, it's not neutral. It becomes an eis ratzon. Why? Why would that be? Svarim Akdoshim say so, but why would it be? And he brings a raya. He brings a raya from, interestingly, Mashgiach Hagait Seven Panovich brings a raya from the founding of the modern state of Israel. Po mashanu bo achshav be'eretz hakedosha. Now that we're living here in Eretz Yisrael, kasha lahagdira keis kaschalta de gula. He says, I'm not saying that, like, I'm not a Rav Kupnik. I'm not saying it's the aschalta de gula. Aval kol panim. He says, but can't you just see chasadim gedolim b'dakotza la'kotzahim? We just finished the Holocaust, charod af, and here we are in Eretz Yisrael, miracles, babish miracles, like chasadim gedolim. Miksei ha-yisurin shel charban shel sheshes alfei alofim me'achenu, 6 million. Yigdar Hashem as appears, Hashem should only replace. Elakotza hasheni, all of a sudden we're on the other end of the spectrum. His yashvus amenu b'medinasai. We have our own country, Eretz HaKadoshim. If I popularize this paragraph, people will stop learning this. Mizet tzarech lilmoid v'likvoya emuna b'leiv, that there's a, like the pshat is, there's a lot of pshatim in it. There's a lot of pshatim. A lot of people speak about it. But his pshat is that when Charon Af is over, when a Charon Af is over, so an Eis Ratzon and an Eis Rachamim come in. The Tomer Devorah comes and he says, and he brings us Tomer Devorah, that the pshat in that is that if it would be that Hashem is angry, and he says, Salachti kidvarecha, if I'm angry because I'm angry like a human is angry, like you offended me, you hurt me, how could you do this to me? If I'm angry because like that, so then Mahechatesa, when I say Salachti kidvarecha, there's an Eis Ratzon. No Eis Ratzon, just get out of my face. No, okay, like a king, like Salachti kidvarecha, and I don't want to see you again. But if the pshat and the whole anger is that I want Klal Yisrael to do tshuva, if it's Klal Yisrael centered and not God centered, this anger, so the whole thing was Eis Ratzon. The whole thing was Eis Ratzon. It was an Eis Ratzon from the very beginning. The only thing is, the panim of Hashem during the first part of it was an Eis Ratzon where he was trying to talk to us about tshuva through Charon Af. And now he's trying to talk to us about tshuva through Ava. So the minute that changes, the moment that changes, that ruach changes, there's a sea change in the spirit, Moshe Rabbeinu says, now I can tap into the Ratzon. In fact, you could even say more. You could say that when Hashem was angry, he's really coming, there's a real Gilui here. There's a real Gilui. There's a Gilui Ashchina. Now, I don't like the Gilui Ashchina when it looks like a Holocaust. No, nobody likes that. But who can tolerate that? But once you take away the Yisurim from the Gilui Ashchina, then you have the Ava of Hashem in the Gilui Ashchina, and that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to ask for. And he says that's the pshat in Eretz Yisrael. So he says here, just sort of one more, his language here, which is so beautiful. He says it was Sefer Tomer Devorah, our chapter, Umidas lo Hechzik la'ad apay. He says like this. This is his take on the Tomer Devorah. Kisha Hashem Yisbarach goes there Yisurin. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, time for Yisurin. Hainu Holocaust. Hainu sheyilmadu mehem v'yasu tshuva. The whole point of it is that people shall learn from these Yisurim and do tshuva. Umisheinu chayzer b'tshuva. And if whoever doesn't do tshuva, ein lo yoy tikva. You didn't do tshuva, so what are we going to do now? It didn't work. It didn't work. Did it work? I don't know. Did Klal Yisrael do tshuva with the Holocaust? Not on a mass level. Interesting. There was more tshuva done during the 6-Day War than there was during the Holocaust. So, Ka'amar, and then Hashem says, as the pasuk says, L'shav hi kesias b'neichem musar lo lakachu. I hit them, I hurt them for nothing. They didn't take my musar. That would have been a better way, because the musar of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avol yesh oid eitzah, says Hashem, but I have another way of doing it. The Hainu Hashem Yisbarach pitoi misnaye berachamim gedolim lamalo mikol hashara. Let me try something else, says Hashem. Let me try some rachamim gedolim, which is beyond anybody's imagination. V'afilu oisam shalei lamdu me'a yisurim. And even from those that didn't learn from the Yisurim, this might work. I'm not sure. I haven't figured out, or I don't know if I will ever figure out why this is the plan B. Why couldn't it be the plan A? Why couldn't this be the first derech to get us to do?
It has to show us that we can suffer. Suffering is something that makes you think.
So you say
you get something for
if
free,
there would have just been the miracles of the state of Israel, there wouldn't have been a Baal Tshuva movement. But it's only, like we're saying, like a big, you had to write an essay about this. It's only the miracles of the Milchemet Sheshet Hayamim and the establishment of Israel, which come after the Holocaust, which make it an ingredient for tshuva. So,
Eretz Yisrael comes from.
You see, you wanted the Midas Hadin first. It's different teretz. Different teretz. There's always a preference to Midas Hadin because it's more emes.
It should have come without the din.
Right. But I'll call upon them. The key words here are these 4 words. Avol yesh od eitzah. When the Yisurim don't work, there's an eitzah of chesed. Rachamim gedolim lamalo mikol hashara afilu loisem shalaylam dumei Yisurim. For those that didn't get it, when the Yisurim are coming around, there's such a thing as getting it, and they didn't get it. When you see, and this is his terrors, I don't think maybe it's a third. It's when you see a mahapecha, when you see such a turnaround from night to day.
You have to wonder about it.
Mikotza Yisurim lekotza hanachas, from the ksei of Yisurim to the ksei of nachas. There's no other teretz except for to say it's Maisa Hashem. How could it be? Now,
Yitzias Mitzrayim.
Now, the emes is, I don't want to ruin the party, but so many, because of this unbelievable stira between good and evil. Like, how could it be that the same God that was doing Holocaust last year is doing State of Israel this year? How could it be? Because of those kind of things in history, whole religions have started because people could simply not imagine that it's the same HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's doing both of these things. Hence dualism and polytheism and Zoroastrianism and all the different God of good, God of evil, God of the sun, God of the moon, all of that is about trying to be biyashev this stira. But the backdrop for Klal Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Like we don't go there. The backdrop to everything is that there's only one HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now, and this is why, by the way, if a person, God forbid, dies, Al Kiddush Hashem. I guess it's a God forbid. If a person dies, God forbid, Al Kiddush Hashem. So the correct thing to do is to say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's Rabbi Kiva's chiddush. Nobody knew to say this before. I think Rabbi Kiva was the one who was machadish's minhag of saying Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Like it's all about the achdus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's all therefore. Whether it's coming in a derech of Yisurim or whether it's coming in a derech of Ava, whether it's a Shoah, whether it's a Medina, whatever it might be, it's all a Sratzainu. It's all really a Gilui of the Shechina. What a gewaldige thing. So to sum it up, means to say that something very deep here, that if we're getting angry about something, what is it? Like the thing you're honking. Is this a Gilui Shechina, or is it just like what is the honk? I mean, like you honk in the house, you honk in shul, people honk all over the place. Honk, honk, honk. They're always honking. Like what is this? What is it? So this is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is megala his ava. V'haraya. Immediately after he says Salachti b'Dorecha, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm not going away because this is an Eis Ratzon. Not because he said Salachti b'Dorecha, but because he was angry. So somehow or another, if we're getting angry at somebody or whatever the correct word is, if we have this Charon Af, it has to be a manifestation of Ava. It has to be an Eis Ratzon. A person has an argument with their spouse, it has to be an Eis Ratzon. It's not an Eis Richuk, it's an Eis Kiruv. It's an Eis Kiruv. It's actually an act of intimacy. Because what's happening here is that there's a meeting which could be very painful. It can be very painful, and it can be very, feel like it's very separating. But in reality, what's happening is klippos are coming down. If, and this is the big if it's out of Ava, and if it's a Shem Shabbat. If it's not out of Ava, boom, we're in court. But if it is out of Ava, what's happening here is it becomes an Eis Ratzon. And then immediately after the anger subsides, okay, Salachti Kidvarecha, the words that we all want to hear, I forgive you. So when I forgive you, that's an Eis Ratzon, that's a time for even more Ava. It's such an unbelievable difference. So just to finish the thought, to conclude the thought is we're talking about different ways that you can know if the anger is the correct kind of anger or the incorrect kind of anger. One is if it's out of control. Another is it coming from gaiva. And another way of knowing whether it's the anger is that anger hakashera, anger hatoira, hatehoira, is always followed by Eis Ratzon. And that's the siman. So therefore, says the Shulchan Aruch already, that if a person gets angry at their child for doing something wrong, after you finish getting angry at your child for doing something wrong and got the message, give him a hug.
Tell him you're sorry.
The Goin says, yeah, tell him, no, I'm sorry, but there's ahava here. It's a din. It's a din. The Goin explains this in Shulchan Aruch and in Mishlei. He explains that this is how you know, says the Goin in Mishlei, the difference between a makas oyev, enemy, and a makas ohev, a lover. That a makas ohev always comes with a hug. It's a whole different. So not just because it's a better educational technique, but because that's because we're talking Eis Ratzon here. We're talking Eis Ratzon here. We're talking a.
When I was a number of years ago, there was a Rebbitzin who taught me a wonderful tool to put this in practice, which is that very often when it's kas, when it is coming from gaiva and it's coming from an emotional seat, there will be physiological responses that you can detect. So if you feel that there's a matzav of anger coming on, take a moment. If you have a regesh of those physiological responses, step back for a moment and assess what's going on
and take a deep breath.
See how you want to respond.
And take a deep breath.
Is this the unhealthy kas, or is this the appropriate kind of response? That and 99% of the time, it's probably something you don't want to respond that way. But listen to the
Rabbi Yaacov said, I think that his father had a special coat in the closet that he used to wear whenever he used to patch him.
Special belt.
Once, how come you're so calm? He said, what I do whenever I think I'm going to get upset, I project myself 1 year from now. I put myself 1 year in the future. Will I be upset at this incident? And
Or how will I look?
in 1 year's time, will I feel the same way? And invariably.
Right. So a year is already Rabbi Yaacov Haber. You got to have a big head. But he'd be like, this is Rabbi Yaacov's father. By the time I get to the closet, I get my coat. So like, so if it's like educational anger, so what's the difference? It takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But if it's just I'm losing it, yeah.
I thought
It's interesting.
part of his avoda. It was like his tishbagger.
No, without doing a mitzvah now.
Rabbi Nachman says that whenever you get your prayers answered, that's the Eitz Ratzon. You should ask for more.
How do you apply that?
Yeah, I think there's a Rashi someplace. Rashi says whenever you thank Hashem, Rashi says you should always follow it up with tefillah. Learn it out from Levi, from Leah. Leah said, "Apam oides Hashem, v'tamoid miletas." Then she stopped giving birth. Why? Because she didn't take advantage of the age drugs.
Right.
The important thing, my dog.
Then how do you keep that?